Hello, everyone. Can you guys see my screen? It should say Conservation Planning 101. What I kind of want to have you focus really quick on this on this slide is that there's some fundamentals to your land, as you probably all know, but I'm going to point out the obvious. So when you have your natural resources on your land is the water, the hydrology that may flow through your land, or when it rains, or if you have a stream. Your soils are very critical to your how you plan your conservation. And then the plant communities that are associated with those soils and associated with the type of water you receive on your land. So those are the three ingredients for your planning. Again, water, soil, and vegetation. Also, things to consider are your neighbors. When you are planning, not everyone does that, but I think it's important to consider your actions and how they may impact others. And then how you manage your land. So are you going to have crops or livestock? That will then play a role in how you plan your activities. Okay, so what is a conservation plan? A conservation plan is a tool unique to your property designed to help you be successful in your land and agricultural endeavors. So basically, we are thinking we want to be efficient with the resources we have available to us. So we like to take a whole property approach instead of looking at individual, just looking at the soils or the vegetation. We want to see how it interacts with each other. So conservation planning involves more than considering individual resources. It focuses on the natural systems and ecological processes that sustain those resources. Again, these are our assets, the soil, water, and vegetation, and we want to make sure that we manage them well by understanding the processes that allow them to do what we want them to do. So when you're planning a conservation plan, you need to take some time to think about your vision. What do you want your property to look like? How do you plan to use the land? And what are your guiding values and principles you use to make decisions on your land? There was something that drew you to the parcel that you have now. What was it and what did you envision for this property? An example of a vision would be, as you can see here, a landowner said the water in our stream is clean and provides habitat for native fish. This was their vision. They want blackberries and weeds have been eliminated and or controlled. They wanted to establish productive pumpkin patch in their field. And we want to be able to keep and graze 4 horses while protecting the condition of our pastures and streams. So this is one task I really encourage all of you to take is, again, ask these questions and play around. Your vision that you come up with tonight or tomorrow may be different than what you envision by the end of this 4 course series. So a vision can evolve, but it's very important to just kind of sit down and start to think about these things, because really what you care about and what you want is what you're going to be able to accomplish. So one of the things that we do, like as myself and other natural resource specialists, when we go out to folks' property, one of the things we do is, to take inventory. What are the existing conditions? And it's a good idea to draw a map, just like on a scrap piece of paper. What do you have there? What buildings do you have? What wet areas do you have? Where are the weeds? Where are things in really good condition? So this is another task that I think in part of your conservation planning is to really sit down and take inventory of your property. I believe Sarah has provided you with maps, like a tax lot map or an aerial map. And if you need more so that you can kind of sketch on, you can ask either of us and we can email you or mail you some more to work with. So again, take inventory of where things are on your property. And I just mentioned maps. So I love maps because maps tell tons of stories and each map is unique. Again, there's the tax lot map, which will help you kind of determine where your boundary is versus where your neighbors. Zoning, what is allowed in those areas. There's aerial maps. I really like aerial maps. We have some sites that will show post-fire aerial views for those who may need those. Give us a call and we could get you a map of post-fire because conditions have changed significantly. You could get a map like this one in the lower corner that shows you where the streams are, where the tributaries and the main stems are and how it interacts with your property. Soils, again, there's great soil maps that kind of tell you what types of soils you may have on your property. And then topographic and LiDAR maps. That map on the very bottom that's kind of gray in color, I have fallen in love with LiDAR maps. They're just like topography maps, like this one right here. They show the hill shade. So it really gives you an idea of that when it rains, where the low points and high points are. So you know really where the water is going to be draining. So it's important when you start making a plan for your land is to get all the maps you can that provide information that could tell you, what you have there. Again, this right here is actually the LiDAR map of the Little North Fork coming into the North Santiam. And this is a very zoomed out view. The river is actually the lines that are really small is the actual river. You can see where the floodplains are. And you can see the historic floodplains, that this huge width was actually historically how the river meandered, but now it's a very small kind of area. Okay, so planning for the future. What do you want? Like we mentioned, it's ideal to set goals, things to think about. Why did you want to own that small acreage property or large acreage? What do you want your property to look like? Do you want it to kind of be natural, low maintenance, versus manicured? What would you like to accomplish on your property? Like, do you want to maintain it for wildlife, pollinators, and have crops? Like, do you want a multi-purpose? So thinking about all the ways you want to use that property. Here are some examples of goals that we would like you to set. These are examples. Improve or maintain the aesthetic beauty of the property and the quality of life for your family. Keep healthy horses, cattle, or livestock on the property. Protect the quality and quantity of water in the local streams, groundwater sources, and other water bodies. So again, I am challenging you all to set goals for your property. And again, what you may do this evening or tomorrow when you're thinking about this class, your goals may change through the course as you learn more information and have access to more tools of what is possible. So one thing to think about when you're doing your plan is to balance it. The natural resource issues, economic and social needs. There's a reality check. We may, if you have 5-10 acres and you come up with a big list, that can be very overwhelming. And most folks have financial limitations. So you want to think, what are the highest priority? What can you afford? How much time and labor can you put toward these goals? And then what programs are out there that can assist me with those actions? And that's what we are going to be here for you to help you understand what is available for you with the various activities. Another important thing to think about are what are your legal limitations. There's water rights, regulations, federal and county. There's zoning rules, codes, restrictions, and easements. So understanding how those may play a role on your property is critical so that you are following all the rules. Again, we want to be good neighbors. So how will your actions impact your neighbors or your neighborhood? Dust, runoff, equipment, noise, odors, pets, a view shed, current and future adjacent land uses. These are all things you want to think about when you are making your plan. Because again, we may have that piece of property, but it's important that we think about how our actions impact the system as a whole. So planning process overview. Again, this is kind of a checklist, and I believe you have this PowerPoint, but you want to think about a landowner vision and draft some goals and objectives. You want to gather existing information, maps, tax lots, soils, LiDAR, and again, Sarah, Jenny, and I are available. You should have these maps, but if you need additional maps, you can reach out to us. There's natural resource inventory, types of resources and locations, again, such as wetland maps that you can get online in terms of how are those related to where you are in the landscape. And then identifying potential issues, current and future. We all offer site visits, so if any of you would like to have a site visit, we can come and help you identify. We're non-regulatory, non-governmental, so we could just be an extra set of eyes that help you see and where there may be issues and where you may want to prioritize. That's the next bullet. Reach out to experts. Sarah, Jenny, myself, OSU Extension has experts that would be able to come and help do site visits. And then through these 4 classes, you will learn best management practices to address the different concerns. What is the best way to treat blackberry? The timing of when you spray or cut is really critical to, using the least amount of chemical or being most effective in getting rid of the plant. So understanding the best management practices. Then the other thing that there is identifying potential funding resources. I heard a couple of landowners mention, but there are grants out there that can help landowners meet their planning goals, their natural resource goals, as it may relate to soils or planting, pollinator habitat, agricultural concerns such as runoff. So again, there are funding resources out there and available to assist. Through the course, again, you want to refine your goals and objectives based on new information. And then definitely schedule a time to meet with conservationists, one of us, to come out and do a site visit to help you through the process and determine what's feasible and practical. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples here of projects that we have done with landowners in the North Santiam. Here's the Westbrook Refuge. It was a riparian OWEB small grant, and we actually were able to do an OWEB small grant matched with a Marion Soil and Water Conservation District LAP grant to really help this landowner with their 2.2 acres. As you can see in the lower left photo, all of their trees in the riparian area had climbing ivy. A lot of these were falling over every windstorm because of the weight of the ivy. Is too much on these trees. So most of those trees in that picture you see have been either fallen or removed. Some are still standing and we were able to get the ivy out of them. Ivy is very invasive, and part of this LAP and OWEB small grant was to remove the invasives and reestablish natives, again, to restore the ecosystem processes. If left unchecked, this whole entire area would be ivy, all of the trees would be down, and the diversity would have been lost. The Bear Branch Creek Wet Prairie Oak Riparian and In-Stream Restoration Project was a huge project that we are still working on. The Sandners, who have property in the several parcels, they enrolled 112 acres into a Farm Service Agency CREP program and NRCS EQIP program. We matched it with a large OWEB grant, and they also partnered with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Partners Program. And as you can see, like looking at the different colors in the legend, we are working to restore 44 acres of riparian area, 67 acres of wet prairie and oak savanna, 57 acres of oak woodland. And this property was originally, when we first met with them, they were leasing it to graze. The person who was leasing the land had created ditches throughout the property to drain the water so that it would remove off the landscape and keep it dry. This is actually a perched wetland. And so the part of the process was to ditch or kind of block these ditches to keep the water on the landscape longer. So again, this was a multi-partnership project. We're still working on it, but at large scale, we were able to get a lot of funding for this landowner to implement all these practices. Again, here you can see there's those ditches that I mentioned, and we were able to get the water to spread across the landscape. Why that is important is because it actually recharges the aquifer, and so folks who have wells, it helps their, refill their wells. The bottom right picture is the red area. That was the riparian area. These lines are the ditches that we worked on. So you can see, working with us, we can really help you identify areas that can improve. And this landowner was able to go kind of all out because we were able to match a lot of different funding programs. This large wood here, that was actually to put into Bear Creek, Bear Branch Creek, for fish habitat. Another project that we've done on the South Valentine Creek with Ed Beidel. This is a kind of a two-part project, but we had riparian restoration in the upper reaches. When we came and met with him originally, you couldn't even walk or see the creek. It was so overgrown with blackberries and holly and other invasives. Today, you can actually walk to the creek. It's all natives, and we have conservation, a contractor that goes out there and helps us do spring and fall treatments. So you can see the before picture and then the after picture. And this is one edge of the riparian area. Another project is the Diekman Slough restoration. This is in the lower North Santiam floodplain. This was a CREP program, a conservation reserve enhancement program. The landowner gets actual rental payments for doing this work. I'd like to show this picture because if you look at the bottom picture, that is what we planned. That is the area that we planned to put into riparian restoration. And then if you look at the top picture, those lines you see, those are all trees that we have planted. So we plant them in rows to make it easier to manage the weeds, but exactly what we planned, we were able to accomplish. And again, this landowner gets rental payments for keeping this, federal rental payments for keeping this in a riparian area. And always remember, there are experts are available to assist you. The Marion SWCD has county tax dollars and grant dollars, and the North Santiam Watershed Council is lottery dollar funded. So we are here to assist you and help you.